Check, check. This thing on. Good to see everybody. Welcome to the live stream. This one's going to be a wild one, everybody. We've got a lot going on. So glad to see everybody here. We've got a lot of folks coming into the stream itself, which is awesome. Really appreciate that. Today, we're going to be focusing on a lot that is going on today, since at the end of the day, there's been a massive breaking situation that's been going on. Really appreciate that. Thanks so much for being here. Means a lot. So thanks so much for being a part of the crew. And we are going to dive right into what exactly has been happening with this whole situation. So we've got an oil tanker that has been seized off the coast of Iran. And we know that that is a Iranian-linked tanker. So Iranian-linked tanker seized off of the coast. And ultimately, that is showing us that we've got a big breaking development happening. Tobias says, just watch the video about vets and PTSD. I'm a vet and diagnosed with PTSD. Thank you. Tobias, thank you so much. Yeah, I did just release a video focusing on ibogaine being used for veterans. That's awesome. Good to see everybody in the chat tonight. We got a lot to cover. So the big breaking news that I'll start with going over with everybody is last 12 hours, U.S. naval forces seized an Iranian flagged or Iranian linked, both tanker attempting to breach the ongoing U.S. naval blockade near the Strait of Hormuz. The operation, conducted by elements of a U.S. carrier strike group and supporting destroyers, successfully intercepted and took control of the vessel in international waters after it ignored warnings and attempted transit. So attempted transit, attempted to go through the actual strait. And here's where we're also seeing that this is where the U.S. naval blockade is. So U.S. naval blockade is here, and we're getting that. The reason why we were able to talk about this is actually roughly where in the graphic the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff actually showed that the blockade was there. So that's why we're actually able to show that. Obviously, if it was sensitive information, it wouldn't be being shown, but the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is showing the U.S. exactly, showing the world exactly where that blockade is. So that is a huge breaking development there. Good to see that we got everybody flowing in. Everybody's joining the chat. Awesome. Please throw a comment in and go ahead and like the stream. That'd be great. Would really appreciate that. This marks a significant enforcement action that directly counters Iranian efforts to evade sanctions and sustain revenue streams. That's the big thing I want to get across to you guys. Revenue streams are the big things here for the regime's military activities. The seizure has heightened immediate tensions while demonstrating U.S. resolve to maintain the blockade until Iran accepts a fair deal, which at this point, I mean, are we surprised at all about the, Iranians potentially not accepting the deal? Definitely a factor, the fact that they've basically behaved recently like the mafia, but let's just go through what's going on, the latest with the blockade, and just see what the internet has to say about it. I'm sure that the internet's just calm and peaceful about all this. This says U.S. forces announced the pirating, well, he's calling it pirating. Actually, it's enforcing a blockade of a regime that's trying to be brought to the table to not have a nuclear weapon. But again, they're going to call it pirating. Yeah. Of the Tuska vessel, Iran is now sending another bulk carrier to test the blockade just miles away from the Tuska. So the thing we have to really watch out for are these different tankers now having some sort of a trap laid on them. So if these tankers are now being sent to test the actual blockade itself, we just have to be very careful. The U.S. has to be very careful. The Marines executing this have to be extremely cautious, because what does the mafia like to do? Nothing is as it seems, and you've heard me say this before, nothing is as it seems. So the mafia likely, they're going to be the ones to do some sort of a trap should they send another tanker through to test the actual resolve of the blockade itself. Is this a distraction for something else? But this is going on to say Iran has rejected proposals for new nuclear talks, citing a naval blockade and excessive demands from Washington. Negotiations will not proceed until the blockade is lifted, is what they're saying. They're saying lift the blockade, and then we'll start the negotiations again, even though they didn't follow through on basically anything that they said they were going to do after the first round of negotiations. So we'll see how that goes. What do you guys think is going to happen? U.S. forces disable vessel attempting to enter Iranian port. That's coming from U.S. Central Command. let's pop to U.S. Central Command. Speaking of U.S. Central Command, and let's do a deep dive, a focus on what actual CENTCOM is saying. We're waiting. Diamond will be joining the chat. We should have a Diamond situation here soon. So once she is ready to join, she will pop in. Diamond, let us know if you're here, and we'll get you access to a Diamond cam. We know all the people want to see the moderator, so we'll add her in as soon as she's here, guys. Yeah, Ken, exactly. That's what I'm saying. All right, so when it comes down to what's actually being said by CENTCOM, so 12 minutes ago, U.S. forces operating in the Arabian Sea enforced naval blockade measures against an Iranian-flagged cargo vessel attempting to sail toward an Iranian port. April 19th literally just happened. And then 4 hours ago, sailors aboard USS Abraham Lincoln stand watch in the Arabian Sea as U.S. forces enforce the blockade of Iranian ports and coastal areas. A helicopter takes off from guided missile destroyer USS Pinckney DDG-91 to patrol regional waters in support of the U.S. Oh, sneeze coming on. Hold on. Whew. Pardon me. That's the first sneeze I think that I've ever had on a live stream. So I'm glad you could all be here to share that with me. It was an invigorating moment to do that with you all. The patrol of this helicopter is there to patrol the regional waters in support of the U.S. blockade on ships entering or exiting Iranian ports. So we know that is a big focus for them to get the Iranian ports basically completely cutting off the flow of oil to the Iranian regime. 20 hours ago, this one is one that I think is very interesting. And this is something I brought up in today's video. If you guys have had the chance to watch it, we actually released 2 videos today. One of them was on the actual potential strikes, yeah, you guys know what I mean. Potential strikes should the conflict kick back off of power structures and bridges inside of Iran itself. Now, the other video was on President Trump signing a declaration that veterans are now able to get access, and Americans, not just veterans, actually. Americans, veterans getting access to ibogaine, which could literally save their life. So that was the second video. But in the first video today, I talked about the Marine Expeditionary Unit, the MEU, the MEU for you acronym lovers. This is showing an aspect of that. So the USS Rushmore LSD-47 conducts blockade operations in the Arabian Sea. So this is pretty cool. Let's have a peek and see what they're actually doing. So you can see amphibious assault ships. These ships are on their extreme level of heightened combat exercise awareness. So not even an exercise awareness. So again, they're focused on getting everything they need ready at any given moment to enforce the blockade. These ships just look mean, too. Don't they just look tough? Here we go. We got a operator out here getting done what they need to get done to make sure that everything's happening aboard this assault ship. Yeah, this isn't the part of the U.S. military you want faced right at you. They're basically prepped and ready. They've got drones ready. So just showing Iran that should they get a little cute and launch some drones of their own, there is an aspect of this that will bite them. Ideally, Iran comes to the table, but this is the kind of leverage and executed force that the administration in the U.S. is saying, hey, Iran, we're not playing games anymore. So we've got one of these helicopters here. These are actually mine detecting helicopters, extremely capable helicopters. You can see it's got a refueling probe on the front. These helicopters can actually carry torpedoes, which is insane, just wild. And then on April 18th, guided missile destroyer USS Pinckney patrols regional waters in support of blockade operations. The blockade has completely halted economic trade going into and out of Iran by sea, and now they're testing the blockade. Like we just said a second ago, guys, you can't allow some sort of a trap to flow in with Iran, likely at this point, to completely not afraid to do something wild. And that's kind of what I see from the regime itself. I just see a lot of unpredictability, extreme unpredictability for what they could actually do. So at this point, we have to be very aware that this regime itself is unpredictable. They're kind of at this point like a coyote backed into a corner. You don't know what they're going to do. You don't know what their actual focus is going to be. So you have to be ready for anything, completely ready for anything. That is the number one focus that has to be going on when you're dealing with a terrorist regime. Let's just call a spade, right? Let's just call a spade exactly what's going on. All right, we've got breaking information right now. We've got Diamond entering the chat. That's the biggest breaking news story. Diamond, welcome. Thank you for moderating. We really appreciate you. How you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, it's been a good day so far.
I'm not actually hearing you through the chat, so I don't know if maybe you're muted, but maybe try one more time there. I'm not exactly hearing you come through. Let's see. Try it again. All right. Well, everybody in the chat, you guys can let them know if you can hear them, but for some reason I'm not hearing you come through. So it might just be an issue on my end, but yeah, why don't you we'll get that working and then
What about
back in once.
yes, no?
Okay, so ultimately, guys, when we look at the actual blockade, what's going on with the blockade itself, we know that they are going to test it, right? We knew that this test was going to happen. We knew that was a big part of, what they could bring into the actual the regime doing something crazy prior to the negotiations, and now they're saying they're not even going to go. So again, are we surprised, dealing with terrorists? Are we actually really surprised? Let's see what the Marines had to say here. So 1 hour ago, President Trump went ahead and released this. He said, this is on the Marines X page. Today, an Iranian flagged cargo ship named Tuska, nearly 900 feet long and weighing almost as much as an aircraft carrier, tried to get past the naval blockade. And it did not go well for them. The U.S. Navy guided missile destroyer USS Spruance intercepted the Tuska in the Gulf of Oman and gave them fair warning to stop. The Iranian crew refused to listen, so our Navy ships stopped them right in their tracks by blowing a hole in the engine room. Wow. Okay, I wasn't aware that it was executed force that took place there. Kinetic action. Wow. Right now, U.S. Marines have custody of the vessel. The Tuska is under U.S. Treasury sanctions because of their prior history of illegal activity. We have full custody of the ship and are seeing what's on board. Again, this is good, but we have to be very careful as a military to make sure the next one, because they know the U.S. is going to board the ship, right? So Iran being who they are, their next move is likely some sort of trap that they could set. A trap could be happening right now. They could be, they've thought of it, right? That the regime has thought of it when you just think about who they are. So you got to be aware of that as well. 3 hours ago, they were executing underground urban operations training at Camp Stanley in South Korea. Wow. Marines are all over the place, taking care of business, doing what they do. No big deal. The Marines they're kind of that little part of the military that you're like, man, these guys, I'm glad they're on our side. And all the crayon jokes about Marines, while hilarious, are 100% true. No, I'm just kidding. The Marines, they take it on the chin. People say they're a bunch of big, dumb jocks, but at the end of the day, this is the most capable force. And what I've noticed is the Marines are actually little mini entrepreneurs. So they think differently. So everybody's kind of shocked by the way that they think and the way they execute, because you got to be a little wild to do the things that they're doing. Let's just be, fully transparent and honest about that.
Well, the Iranian command and control and government is in absolute disarray because of the devastating attacks across its leadership. You're right. You heard the Iranian foreign minister say it's open, and then the IRGC step in and say, no, it's closed. Regardless,
I'm showing that you're muted right now.
It's the blockade, the U.S. Navy, and President Trump who's just ultimately deciding what gets in and out. So he has completely turned the tables on Iran's attempt to hold the entire world's economies hostage on its attempt to punish the world.
I'm not sure what's going on,
as a result of this dispute over its nuclear program. But to your point, I promise you, I assure you, the United States doesn't trust anything. Any agreement that comes out will have to be verifiable and enforceable. And back to my position here in the United Nations, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, and its nuclear inspectors, I'm confident will be a key part of whatever's resolved.
To hold the entire world's economies hostage. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, as we can see, there's nothing being held back. That's kind of the big focus. Nothing being held back at all. So when it comes down to what President Trump's actually deciding to do with Iran, he's kind of making every decision for them right now. And I think it's a good point that they're actually in such disarray that no one really knows who's in charge of Iran at this point. Not even Iran. Like, Iran doesn't even know.
Motor vessel Malik, this is warship 112.
Yeah, it looks like some of the audio is not exactly coming through. I'm going to go ahead and I think I have an idea of how to fix that. So we'll be working on that right now. So let me go ahead and take care of that. Let's see if this does it. Share tab audio. Yep. Okay. We'll see if this
All right, can you hear me now? Because I think everybody else can.
Okay, everybody else can hear it. Okay, cool. Yeah, for some reason it's not coming through. That's okay.
Motor vessel Molly, this is warship 112. We will be escorting you to your next port of call. Thank you for your cooperation. This is warship 112, standing by at 10-1.
Wow. So this is U.S. Navy interdicting the vessel itself. Man, that is impressive. That is extremely impressive. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if, let's see if I can actually hear it through my phone here. But ultimately, the U.S. Navy taking care of business is, okay, they hear everything. Okay, cool. It's just not coming through my speakers, but I'll play this one more time.
Motor vessel Molly, this is warship 112. We will be escorting you to your next port of call. Thank you for your cooperation. This is warship 112.
Diamond, let me know what they said during this interdiction. Okay, so you guys can hear exactly what's going on. Let's see if I can, let's see if YouTube will play for us. All right, so we're going to listen. I'm going to let you guys listen to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff right now. Here's what he's going to get to. So he'll get, in a second, he's going to talk about this map. So we'll get to that here in a second, but I want you all to just kind of listen to what he has to say, and I'll work on my audio. So he's going to recount. This is from 3 days ago. Okay, cool. People can hear everything. Cool. Okay, this should be playing the audio for you guys.
Blockade of Iran's ports and coastline, not a blockade of the Strait.
Looks like we have the IRGC hacking in.
Enforcement will occur inside Iran's territorial seas and in international waters. In addition to this blockade,
right, give me a thumbs up, Diamond,
the
if they
joint
can hear.
force, through operations and activities in other areas of responsibility, like the Pacific area of responsibility under the command of Admiral Paparo, will actively pursue any Iranian-flagged vessel or any vessel attempting to provide material support to Iran. This includes dark fleet vessels carrying Iranian oil. As most of you know, dark fleet vessels are those illicit or illegal ships evading international regulations, sanctions, or insurance requirements. More than 10,000 sailors, Marines, and airmen, over a dozen ships and dozens of aircraft are executing this mission. And let me walk you through this operation a little bit. Please go to the first slide. First to the graphic.
Well, all right. I don't know what happened there. Hi, everyone. Okay, he's back. Maybe.
All right, give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me. Okay, I guess we're gonna have to skip any audio for, unfortunately, technical difficulties. There's no audio playing for me, so I can't actually hear what we're reacting to. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So we'll just stick with straight up me talking. You guys get to hear me talk now for a while. So congratulations. We tried. I tried to let someone else talk, and apparently the stream gods are not allowing that to happen. So we'll go ahead and move on to just kind of some quotes. We'll see what CENTCOM's saying, and then we'll get working on what's actually going on with the blockade itself. We'll pop to the imagery as well. So let's go ahead and focus on any updates on the blockade. Let's see, I typed in blockade. I wonder if is there any other blockade going on right now? Yeah, here we go. So IRGC is in absolute disarray because of what's been done. We know that because the devastating attacks across its leadership. So the devastating attacks across its leadership, U.S. Navy, President Trump ultimately is holding the cards right now. So let's see if there's anything else, any other words coming out. Let's see.
East of the Strait
So we
of
talked
Hormuz.
about that.
He says that vessel is.
We know that that was a Truth Social quote, and they got the ship. So that's actually a big focus on what could happen with these negotiations, because the negotiations are essentially based on some sort of leverage that Iran wanted to have. You know, Iran wanted the leverage. They wanted to sneak a ship through. Excuse me. So if they were able to sneak a ship through, then that obviously would have been a massive win for them. You know, getting that ship through is just basically going to show the world that, hey, they're in control. And so that was their number one objective. That's what they wanted to do. And it wasn't able to happen. So pretty wild situation that was a part of their plan, because ultimately, you know, you literally have the world's biggest navy sitting right there. So that's kind of a hard one for them to, you know, test. But I guess at the end of the day, all bets are off when it comes to what their plan is. So here's the U.S. naval blockade location, rough location on where the blockade's actually taking place. And this was from the video we were going to watch. This is from Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Kane, talking about the actual location of the blockade itself. So there it is right there. Again, Derek made the imagery. Derek, thank you so much for doing that. Derek, the guy who wants no credit, we really appreciate you. And we think Derek's, you know, on the stream tonight. He's typically on the stream watching. He's watching and judging. He's like, really? He's using my imagery that way? He's not using it to its maximum capability? Sorry, Derek, but we're doing our best. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. So blockade, again, people have asked, well, why isn't the blockade right up here? Well, one of the big reasons why it's not right up here is because this choke point, at some point, you know, Iran unleashes 50 of their little Shahed drones that they still have left. They're doing their proxy tactics again, and they're focused on a detached type of command and control. So they basically have instructions that are probably really hard to get to the actual IRGC commanders. Their instructions probably are, if you don't hear from us for 12 hours, launch against ships. If you don't hear from us for 24 hours, then launch ballistic missiles, right? And they probably check in with the IRGC every couple hours to say, okay, we're still here. We're still here, because the leadership is in such tatters that we really have no clue who's in charge of Iran at this point. Go ahead and throw a super thanks in the chat, and then we'll get your question answered. Really appreciate Punisher, Rich, Mum, Mad, Truck. It's just good to see everybody in the stream tonight. Appreciate everybody being here. So their whole focus is detached command and control. And let's just do some digging around on the imagery and just kind of see where actually some of these strikes could take place if this resumes. Apparently, I've seen some conflicting reports. Diamond, you can kind of help me do some research here too. I've seen some conflicting reports about the negotiations actually being called off. So there supposedly were going to be negotiations on 420. What were they going to do with the negotiations? I don't know. It's 420. Maybe they're going to sit back, have a little, just a little, and it's 420 at the end of the day, right? Maybe that's why Iran called it off. Iran is like, nope, we're going to stay home and smoke. We're going to figure out our life. We're going to try to relax and de-stress. Maybe that's why they called off the negotiations. So let us know, Diamond, some of the latest breaking info, and actually, is it true that they've called off the negotiations? Because that would be a big signal to us, right? If they're like, we're not even going to show up to negotiate and the ceasefire is about to expire, now it's a game of tactical chess on a whole new level where, okay, well, we'll see what happens. But as you can see, I've currently, you know, we can see Iran has a spaceport here, which I put that down as, you know, something I wanted to cover, because they might be using tactics like space type tactics to get more and more intelligence, reconnaissance, and surveillance of U.S. systems in the area with all the different Chinese satellites that have been pumping them information. So they could be pumping it to locations just like this, which is supposedly their spaceport. Let's just take a peek at this thing. Does it really have, I mean, is there anything really going on? Or is it just like a tennis ball court that they're like, yeah, it's our spaceport. It's our spaceport. We promise. Let's see what they actually have here. So this is their spaceport. Interesting. Okay. So when you think spaceports, I think of something, well, this is still under construction. So you can see a lot of underground facilities being built here for their spaceport facility. So all that Chinese money, all that China money, just blinging with that China money is going into building this spaceport. So underground facilities at the spaceport, we know that the rocket systems do need underground type facilities. So digging down into the ground doesn't actually surprise me a ton, but it is dual use, right? So what else could Iran actually have here? Could be something that makes everybody a little bit more nervous, knowing that this could be some ballistic missile type facility, Shahed drone facility, all kinds of things for sure. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, negotiations, I don't get it either. It's like maybe the negotiations started too soon. Maybe there wasn't enough done. But now that the Strait of Hormuz is blocked off and all these ships are headed for the US to fill up with oil, that's a big win, I think, in some regards against, if you think about leader versus leader, the IRGC going up against the administration in the US, the fact that the strait is closed and now Europe, they're like, hey, Europe, you want to actually get your oil? Cool. Send your tankers over to the US. That's actually a huge win for the US economy eventually. Again, it's not going to happen overnight. There's going to be a lot of ripples where gas prices are going to stay high. So ultimately, when it comes down to it, could see this escalate to a level where the strait stays closed for longer than we thought. But it does beg the question, why did the ceasefire come around if the Trump administration kind of saw the writing on the wall? Maybe it's shocking to them too, of how nihilistic the IRGC is and the fact that they literally don't want to negotiate. They literally want to do the exact same thing that they did before. And again, it doesn't really surprise me. And I've actually highlighted on here IRGC leadership sites. So let's take a peek at their actual leadership sites. So for example, here, let's just go up into Tehran itself. So these could be, my opinion, if it does kick back off again, it's not just going to be electrical plants that are going to be hit. It's going to be a lot of IRGC leadership that's hit as well. So we'll turn off some of the industrial locations. We'll turn those back on here in a little bit. So IRGC leadership. So a lot of these different sites have been associated with IRGC leadership. And obviously there's dual usage as well. So I focused a lot of the prior streams along the coastline. But what I'd like to do is go ahead and just kind of dial in a little bit more into what's going on. I just saw a comment that made me made me giggle a little bit inside. So at the end of the day, when you think about the center of the country, what's going on there, a lot of that comes down to leadership bunkers, protection of the leadership, keeping them safe. While they're in the ceasefire, they're actually coming up for air, but the ceasefire could end at any time. So people have said, why allow the IRGC to do what they've done, to kind of have a few weeks to get themselves back in order? Well, at the end of the day, it comes down to what is the IRGC's game plan should this kick back off. So a lot of these leadership sites here, let's check these out near Tehran. These are going to be where most of the IRGC upper leadership is. Broadcasting of the Islamic Republic of Iran. So those are broadcasting center. We know one of those was hit before. And again, all this information is pulled from AI. So this is just AI, open source AI. Derek gets on AI and builds us these different imagery maps. So that's what we're seeing right now, are just different imagery maps showing SAM sites. And this one shows an S-300 site. Let's check this out. S-300 is their most advanced surface-to-air missile site. And it says it's empty, but it is a site. But again, they don't want to put them in places where they've been detected before. When Iran thinks about what they're going to do with their different weapons right now, likely places like this are going to be completely abandoned, because this is the shiny object, right? This is where everyone's like, oh, okay, this is the shiny object. Let's bomb this first. So what does Iran do? They pull out as much of these different SAM systems as they possibly can. Iran right now is very good at pulling out, if you pick up my drift. They're pulling out their different surface-to-air missile sites, and they're moving them to locations in, let's say, the mountains, the Zagros Mountains, places where not necessarily the fighters would start bombing again, but where the transit routes would be. So they'd put them in places where the transit routes would be, and that would be their focus, basically somewhere here in the Zagros Mountains. That's why we saw that shoot down of the F-15E in the Zagros Mountains themselves, because Iran knows that this is a great place for them to hide these ballistic missiles. This is the number one type of a landscape where hiding ballistic missiles is going to be the name of the game. Because if you put them in those big open places, they're just going to get schwacked pretty much hour one should the conflict kick back off. Let's see, Hawk or MIM-23 site at Hawk. This one's empty as well. So let's see, why is it empty? Did they potentially just stop? Maybe they just stopped with their surface-to-air missile sites, guys. Maybe they're just going to come to the table and negotiate. Yeah, maybe that's what their focus is going to be. But this is the MIM-23 site, empty as well. Again, these are so easy to find. So when you think of these type of sites as a fighter aviator, really, it's so easy to find sites like this that, you know, they're going to be struck pretty much minute one, hour one of the actual. If the conflict kicks back off, that's why Iran's going to move as many of these different surface-to-air missile launchers out of here as they possibly can, and they're going to move them into remote sites, so extremely remote sites. Let's see if we can find some of these remote sites. So we've got air bases over here. Let's see. What do you guys want to? I'll go ahead and bring you guys into this discussion, and we can talk about what you guys want to see. So we'll do a quick poll. What do you guys want to see right now on the targeting? So we could do a couple different options. Let's look for what targets in Iran do you want to see? This will be a vote by the people. Iran, do you want to see? So we could look for IRGC bunkers. And this will be throughout the whole country. We could do radar sites. And we could do energy infrastructure like bridges, power plants, things like that. So let me know what you guys want to see, and we'll go ahead and start. If I can spell infrastructure. Sure. There we go. All right. Boom. You guys let me know what you want to see, and then I'll go ahead and focus on that on the imagery. That'll be the big focus there. So ultimately, guys, when it comes to what we're seeing, we got to remember that this is the IRGC. These guys are going to hide everything they possibly can, like literally everything they possibly can, in the mountains, in places where it's very difficult to see what's been going on, where it's very easy for them to hide their actual ballistic missile launchers. And we've seen that some of these sites are empty. And the reason why they're empty is because they're being moved. That's what, you know, everybody at this point is kind of leaning, from what I've heard, just from what I've seen. A lot of people are saying this is going to kick back off. Now, we don't know exactly, but I'm curious what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you think this will kick back off soon, or if you think the ceasefire talks will actually give us some sort of a real, reason, a real response for Iran to actually allow this conflict to end. I'd be very curious to see what actually happens. And then throw a super chat in. Remember, I'll do a 2-hour live stream if we meet the goal. If we meet the 30 super chat goal, 2-hour live stream, and it keeps Diamond off the streets. She won't have to go wash windows after this. So she would greatly appreciate that. We might have her probably stay at the desk and just do research for the Max Afterburner channel until, I don't know, what do you guys think, till like 3 a.m.? We'll just keep you there till about 3. I think that's pretty good. I'm a pretty good boss. I didn't say 4 a.m. So 3 a.m. is not too bad. All right. So looks like the poll. Oh, wow. IRGC bunkers is winning the poll now. Oh, it's tied. IRGC bunkers and energy infrastructure. We'll give it a few more minutes to see what actually pops out. But while that's happening, let's pop back to the map. I'll let that poll work itself out. You guys tell me what kind of structures you want to see, because a lot of this, a lot of these strikes could be happening soon. We don't want that to happen. We want this war to be over. We want this to be done. We want Iran to come to the table, end this. But again, Iran is the mafia. And again, when you think of the mafia, the way that they work is they focus on proxy tactics. Their brains don't work like normal people's brains do, right? They just get as much money as they possibly can. They build as much protection around themselves as they possibly can. And that's the main focus. That's how they actually operate. So okay, let's see what Diamond is texting me. Yeah, let's see. Diamond says, in her opinion, the negotiations are a waste of time. So you think we're probably going to go back to some strikes, Diamond? Is that kind of what you're thinking right now? I can't hear you talk, but go ahead. 30 seconds. You can give your opinion, your perspective on things. I can't hear you though.
Okay. Yeah, I think the negotiations are a waste of time. I mean, you can't negotiate with terrorists, and you know, IRGC is already pushing stuff, and you know, kind of pushing that boundary of the ceasefire, and yeah, I don't think it's going to last much longer, and both sides are going to go back at it.
Okay, cool. Thanks for giving your opinion. You literally could have said anything you wanted right there. You could have been like, Max Afterburner is insane. Don't listen to the things he says about being my boss. Literally anything at that point. So I trust that you said something that everybody was really excited about and was related to the topic.
He's great most of the time. No,
okay.
No, he's great all the time.
I think you said you were on topic. Okay. That's refreshing to hear. All right. Country Patriot says, very cool analysis. Thanks from Northern Maine. Wow. Philip Schreier just dropped a bomb of cash. Thanks, my friend. We really appreciate that. That'll keep Diamond off the streets for at least 3 hours tonight. We'll let her stop working on research at about 2 a.m. now that Philip Schreier hit us with that. So there you go, Diamond. Actually, 2:30. You're going to just do research on Max Afterburner stuff till 2:30 because of, and you can say thanks to Philip for that one. He really hooked you up on that. Okay. And then actually Big One just said he thinks you're right. So what you said must have actually been related to the topic, which I really appreciate. So that's good. All right. Let's see what the poll is doing. Let's see what's going on at the poll. Polls. Are the polls correct? IRGC bunkers. Okay. Let's see if we can find that. Let's see what we got. So we got IRGC. A lot of that's going to be on an island, docks. Okay, everything. I'm just going to select everything IRGC. And let's see, infrastructure, industrial locations. And then we will also hit the energy infrastructure after this. But I want to see if we can actually locate some of these bunkers. Okay, here's an IRGC. Okay, I'll go ahead and stop the poll right now, actually, as well. Since we know what the people want. We got to give the people what they want. All right, people, you are getting what you want. We just ended the poll. Phil Schreier, thank you so much for that. Far too kind. Really appreciate it. I'll see if I can catch up on some super chats here. We talked about the Northern Maine one. Very cool. Let's see what else we got. And then minefield equals distrust. Stop. Change direction. Funnel. Next engagement will be July 4th. Finally, worse than they have seen to date. Jason Alif. Okay, Jason. Yeah, definitely. A lot of people are thinking as you're thinking with the minefield kind of being a ruse. You know, again, are we shocked? The IRGC is, lying to us? No, we've never seen that happen. We've never seen that happen. Yeah, someone just said, what a guy, I'm a great boss. I agree. Exactly. We're letting Diamond off at 2:30 in the morning instead of 4. I mean, I am a really good boss. Really, sometimes it's hard to be this good of a boss, guys. You can just see how she's not being held hostage. She is definitely not forced to sit there until 5 a.m. She's only forced till 2:30. She like holds up a sign. She's like, "Help, please." Oh, we love Diamond. Diamond does a great job for us. Thank you for being a great moderator. We really appreciate you. Okay, back to the map where we're looking for some IRGC headquarters and just kind of, again, a lot of this is just ultimate strategy game. It's a big game of chess. So what does the IRGC do? Well, the IRGC is going to batten down the hatches and they're going to make their way into bunkers as best they possibly can. There were some bunkers we came across in the mountains, which we're going to look to here in a little bit, but let's just see what's going on with IRGC intelligence headquarters. So this is kind of like their CIA headquarters in Isfahan, or as I like to say, in Gloria Isfahan, which great artist. If you guys haven't listened to her music lately, give her a listen. Amazing throwback from the past. I think she's like big in the 90s. I'm sure the IRGC bumped some Gloria Isfahan in their Isfahan hideout. I'm sure that's something that's important to them. But again, as you can see, they're going to blend this in to local population, right? The IRGC, they're not going to have anything kind of, it looks like the Pentagon per se. Their headquarters buildings are going to be integrated into society. This is kind of like the equivalent of if the Pentagon was just integrated into a bottom level floor of a skyscraper in New York City and was trying to be concealed. This is exactly what they do. So as we can see here, that's their headquarters. All the buildings buildings look exactly the same. Tibetan, man, I would say a lot of bunkers are actually a part of this as well. IRGC intelligence headquarters likely has a lot of bunkers as a part of that whole system, and they probably interconnect. So it might say IRGC intelligence headquarters here, but it interconnects via a bunker across this lane right here, this group of trees and road, and then it ties into something over here. So again, their whole goal is like, oh yeah, look over here, but what's actually going on is over here, which we're not going to open up about the fact of where it actually is. That's what the perspective is of the IRGC. So when we think about the bunkers, we know that they're interconnected. And then let's take a peek. Let's zoom back out. What is that real quick? I'm curious what that is. Is that just like tennis courts? Is this the Ayatollah's tennis court? Let's see. Shalil Satoon Palace. Oh, this is one of the IRGCs or one of the upper mullahs, likely one of their golden palaces. So let's take a little peek at this. Yeah, very beautiful. But again, all this is built to say, hey, the Ayatollah is a god. Do everything he says, which is wild. I mean, this almost looks like the Lincoln Memorial with the infinity pool. Like, they're like, yeah, tell us you're building an infinity pool without building an infinity pool. So the IRGC, the way that they actually took power, this is kind of wild right here too. If you look at a lot of the architecture is beautiful. I mean, this dome right here, a lot of this is very beautiful. I mean, the way that the IRGC took power is pretty wild too, by the way. I did a lot of research into the actual revolution. So 1979-ish, the Shah of Iran was actually becoming very unpopular. So the Shah Pahlavi, so Reza Pahlavi is his son, but the Shah at the time actually became very unpopular. And there were basically martial law was being put in the streets and people were revolting against the Shah's regime. So what happened is everybody got, when everybody's in a crisis, when that happens, Sunkissed Girl said, Sarah, blink twice if you need help. Exactly. Yeah. She's just sitting there blinking twice for the entire stream. We're like, either she's got a contact loose or she's being held hostage. But one of the history things that I thought was kind of cool to bring up is during times of crises, people can make some wild decisions that aren't actually in the best interest of society. Hint, hint, what happened in Nazi Germany, right? Where Hitler came along and is like, I'm going to restore national pride. Germany has been taken advantage of in World War I. We don't want that to happen again. And you give power and the keys to one person, and then we see what happened with Nazi Germany. And pretty much, guys, pretty much the exact same thing happened with the IRGC. So Khamenei was actually exiled from Iran in 1964 by the Shah. He's the guy who came in and started killing thousands of his own people. So he's exiled. Again, pandemonium in the streets with the Shah. Basically, the Shah was trying to westernize Iran too fast. So the U.S. wanted to westernize Iran. They wanted to bring Iran into the world economy, but they were trying to do it too fast. He was shoving it down the throats of the people of Iran. And there was a mullah class, a very proud mullah class, like we've seen with religious leaders that were getting pissed off. They were getting angry, and they were starting to start rebellions and revolts in Iran itself. So the Shah actually had secret police as well, trying to squash the dissidents. And then ultimately, public opinion, it boiled over when a newspaper started to publish a lot of very bad things about the Ayatollah. And the people started to get extremely angry. And then that created basically an Islamic revolution. So that newspaper starts publishing a whole bunch of negative things about the Ayatollah and they were publishing it based on the direction, by the way, they're publishing it based off of the direction of the actual Shah himself. So they're publishing all that stuff. And then ultimately, they realized that they wanted that, they realized in a sense that they wanted the Ayatollah back because of the more traditional values that the Ayatollah stood for. Well, ultimate traditional values where, women can't show their face, stoning women in the streets, getting back to the root of the Islamic Republic, basically back to the Stone Age, stoning people in the streets, women not, wearing the appropriate attire, not wearing the shawls that they're supposed to, not wearing the burqas they're supposed to, getting stoned in the streets. And so that type of extremism came in, but it was welcomed in. It was like the door was opened for that because society was reeling from what they felt was what the Shah was doing wasn't what they wanted. Too fast, too quickly of Westernization is what happened. So because of that, they allow the Ayatollah to come back in, and then the Shah had to go into, basically the Shah said he was going on a vacation, but he left and never came back. He got exiled. So because he's exiled, then the IRGC and Khamenei took extreme hold. Then they created their own secret police. I mean, there were celebrations for a while, for a few months, and then the secret police of the Ayatollah took hold, and then the army pledged allegiance to the Ayatollah, and then they started to do what we're starting to see now, squashing any dissident. And what the Ayatollah told his people is that he was the true representative of God. So in the Shia religion, the Ayatollah is Shia, most of Iran is Shia Muslim. He basically used a term, I'm not going to say it because I'll probably butcher it, but he used a term basically saying that in the Shia religion, he was God's true representative on earth. So that's how dark it starts to get. So he says he's God's true representative on earth. And what does that mean? Well, what that means is if you go against anything the Ayatollah says, you're going against God. That's what he told all of his people. So with that type of rhetoric, now it allows the IRGC, the secret police, to start to go and kill thousands of their own people. And they just started doing it as much as they possibly could. They started killing thousands of their own people. And the whole focus was, you're going against the Ayatollah, who is God's representative on earth. So do you guys see how dark that can get? See how wild that can get? But again, they let the Ayatollah in with open arms because the Shah wasn't adhering to the traditional values that a big class of the people in Iran wanted to hold on to. And again, when it came to Hitler, national pride, we're going to get Germany back on the map. Germany's been taken advantage of. All these deals have been bad for Germany. Germany's coming back. And then, obviously murdering millions of people is how that one turned out. And then with the Ayatollah, basically the same playbook. And we've actually seen things like this happen in Cuba as well, where the Ayatollah, he actually started to become more into power through cassette tapes. So he was smuggling in cassette tapes through the religious oligarchy, getting those cassette tapes into Iran itself to create the desire for the rebellion. That's how he convinced the people, was via cassette tapes, which is wild. But Castro did the exact same thing. Castro did the exact same thing by hijacking a radio station and transmitting radio signals into the people of Cuba to get them to appreciate more traditional values, basically more hardline values, and to the extreme point to where they actually brought in an evil dictator. So that's how that one played out. Little side tangent there, but now you guys have some background on how that all went down. So when we look at the different bunkers, let's see if we can find anything else. We got the space agency, we've got warehouses. Man, probably a lot of these islands are going to have bunkers. Let's go back down into some of these islands, see if we can find any bunkers. I know there's a lot that are in the mountains as well. So let me see if we can just pull up any that pop up here. Okay, underground airbase entrance. This is exactly what you guys wanted. All right, we got you. Let's check this place out. So underground airbase entrance might have been hit. We know that a lot of these have been hit, but this just shows the level of detail that the IRGC goes to protect their infrastructure. So, okay, there's a run. That makes sense. Got the runway right there. It's kind of hard to hide that. You can't have the runway underground, guys. So it's kind of obvious here, which is kind of interesting to me. Whenever I see like these underground air bases, I think a lot about, well, if you have an underground air base, okay, but you got to get your jets out to the runway. So that's going to be wild. Yeah, so Diamond just said, too much change too fast for a traditional values only country. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Shah basically trying to bring in too much Westernization, too much capitalism too fast. And that's what basically pushed the country to the brink of them wanting the Ayatollah back, which is, in hindsight, I bet they're not too happy that they did that. But, it's all relative. People know what they know. We're talking about 1979. No internet, there's not a lot of discussion happening. It's all based on what these secret police are doing. And yeah, it's a wild situation. But yeah, that's a really good perspective there, Diamond. Thank you for that. Okay, cool. When it comes to this bunker, let's focus on what the people want. The people want to see what this bunker looks like. So these are the types of targets. Like, think about how much money it took to build this, right? You're building into the actual side of a mountain a base that can house fighter jets. I mean, what is this? Is this a taxiway? Yeah, I think that's just concrete, but let's zoom in a little more. Yeah, it's not a building, I don't think. So it's just some sort of dilapidated concrete. So not that they're keeping everything in extremely good condition. And if you want to actually take off the other direction because of winds, then you got to back taxi down the runway. You got to go all the way to the end of the runway, turn around on the runway, do one takeoff. I mean, it's not very efficient, for the way that it's, supposedly like an advanced airbase. But it does show that they cared about fighters. They actually cared about fighter jets. They thought fighter jets might be a part of their arsenal. But until recently, when they've just pretty much, we did see an F-4 flying around. Supposedly an F-4 was escorting some of the Iranian leadership. Good luck with that. I mean, I wouldn't want that guy on my wing. I'd be like, thanks for the escort, man. Stay a mile away or more, because you don't fly very much. You haven't flown in a month minimum. And I don't want you to run into me while I'm flying around. If I was Iranian leadership right now, if I was their consultant, I would say, yeah, don't have the F-4 pilots fly on your wing. Okay. Not that they're not good. Yeah. We're sure they're great. We're sure they're really, really good. And they're, really up to speed on everything. So, all right, let's see if we can get a better angle to kind of give you guys an idea. So this would be like the support structure, the energy infrastructure of what's going on. Let's just put ourselves right down here, see what this looks like. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Whoa, those entrances are wild. That is really crazy. Let's see if it'll allow us to move here. Should allow us to move. Yeah. Let's see if we can move forward. Yeah, there we go. Dang. That is crazy. Those types of entrances. So I'm assuming that must be some sort of basically like a door that just kind of lowers down, but it's not a flat wall, which is interesting. I was expecting to see some sort of a flat wall, not just, the doors that are kind of angled down like that. So the energy or the support structure here, we got good visuals on that. That's pretty obvious to see. Throw a super chat in the chat, and then we'll answer that question that you have. And then we'll keep Diamond off the streets if we get enough super chats. We'll let her go by 2:45 in the morning after she's done doing her massive amount of reviews for Max Afterburner. Okay, she's got a lot of there's super chats in the document. Okay, we'll make sure that we cover those as well. So these bunkers are insane. The amount of energy that is put into this. I mean, it's just wild to think about the amount of energy and infrastructure that they've actually put in. Let's see. Access denied. All right, cool. I just requested access, Diamond. So if you want to shoot me some access, that would be huge. That would be huge. Extremely huge. All right, so let's pop back out. Let's exit ground level. All right, so if you look at the bunkers themselves, you guys got to see the bunker. The people voted. The people wanted the bunkers. Man, that entrance is just wild. And we don't know if that's the imagery too. So it might, as it slopes in right here, it might actually be a wall, be an actual door that opens up. So that could be something that we see as well. Okay, cool. She just allowed me in. I'm in the document. Armor Buck says, just cuz. Philip Schreier, no comment, just a $20 super chat. Thank you. Texas Aviator hooked it up with the American flag and the guns. Looks like someone's working out today. Appreciate that. Quinn Upstate says, again, the U.S. military by its own standard does not target purely civilian targets like power plants and bridges. Empty threat, and people who have been in the military know it. Yes, I do see what you're saying. Yeah, it is like, that is one thing in President Trump's truth post that I was like, well, I don't think he's actually going to do that. Again, he's trying to, I guess he's, trying to pressure the civilian leaders in a way, just showing that he's kind of unpredictable. That's kind of what I think he's doing. But a lot of that is an empty threat, because what he'll probably do if he does strike the power plants and the bridges is he'll start one by one and just start plinking them off. And they're going to be focused on the actual ballistic missile programs of Iran. So you guys saw me in the video today. What I talked about was a lot of this energy infrastructure. Actually, since we're on the topic, I'm just going to go to the energy infrastructure. Let's just do it. Let's just check out all the different nuclear. Oh, that's nuclear related targets. We'll cover that in another one. Let's go to infrastructure. We'll go to infrastructure and industrial locations. Fatty McButterpants, just a few bucks to help Sarah get more home furnishings to go with that sweet leather couch behind her. Or if she's a minimalist, have a beer on me. Oh, I like that. I think she is a minimalist. Yeah. Very low maintenance. She's basically told me she doesn't like gifts. She doesn't like anything being bought for her. She just wants to work on Max Afterburner like 24/7. And I'm like, well, you need a break at some point. And she's like, no, I do not need a break. I want to work on Max Afterburner all day long. And I don't need you telling me that I need a break. And I was like, okay, fine. So anyway, Fatty McButterpants, she's probably just going to take the $5, give it to me. And I'll say, no, I don't want it because the super chats are for her. She'll give them to me. And then she'll just sit on that couch and study for our next live stream. Pretty sure that's what she'll be doing until about 3:30 in the morning. Maybe we'll post an update of her at 3:30 in the morning, just sitting there dialed in, just ready to go, just locked in. Oh, coffee table. Oh, okay. Apparently Diamond's getting a coffee table. Well, she's going to need something to write on as she sits there and writes all the different research that she's doing for our next live stream. So I approve it as long as she's constantly working on Max Afterburner from the coffee table. Thumbs up, Diamond, if you're going to constantly work on Max Afterburner from your new coffee table. Oh, okay. All right. Well, you know, you win some, you lose some. Diamond looks like she's only going to be working on Max Afterburner 20 hours a day instead of 24. So we, you know, at some point we have to realize she does have to sleep, which 4 hours of sleep, I think is plenty. The other 20 hours are perfect for her to work on Max Afterburner. All right. So let's pop to some energy infrastructure. Because again, I think what we said in the super chat does make a lot of sense. Let's spin this around because it's kind of confusing right now. So let's spin this like this. There we go. North is slightly up, basically like a northeast type up situation. All right, let's check out some power plants. FARS combined cycle power plant. So FARS, okay. So let's check this out. And yeah, the people, like you said, the people are getting power from this. So it is kind of weird to give that threat, because it seems like a threat like that you would, likely be focused on anything IRGC related would be the number one focus. But if you look at where these are, this is kind of interesting how the different power plants and power structures are basically right by a base. So let's check this out. Let's zoom in a little more. All right, control tower, communications. So water treatment facility right by the base. Let's see if there's any, let's see. Derek put some jets here. This is kind of cool. He put some jets here. Oh, wow. Okay. So more like cargo style aircraft. These are definitely military transport planes. We know a lot of these have been hit. We don't see any fighters. I mean, at this point, maybe they just don't even care about fighters anymore. And then these are kind of Russian variants of the aircraft. Basically, these to me, they look definitely Russian oriented, like that high tail with the 4 engines and cargo planes. So that's quite a bit. So this must be one of their main cargo hubs. But you can see, and then they have a drone facility right there. So drone facility right there. Military helicopters, military hangars, launch sites, energy infrastructure is probably going to be close by. Water treatment facility right here. So yeah, crushing all their different infrastructure doesn't make a lot of sense to me either, because if you crush all the infrastructure, a lot of the people in Iran are going to suffer. But if you focus on actual dialed in, very tightly knitted target packages on IRGC power plants, because a lot of these power plants, think about the amount of power it takes for the ballistic missile program. Massive amounts of power for that. Massive. Chemical facility here. So again, a lot of these chemical facilities, this could be the type of energy infrastructure that gets hit, because a lot of the chemicals are for war making production. That's pretty much their number one focus, is war production for a lot of the chemicals. But, obviously there's going to be chemicals for other things as well too. All right. So a lot of military airfields, Khorasan power plant. Let's just have a look at Khorasan power plant. Let's do a zoom in here, just to get an idea of what these power plants look like. See, this one's way far away. Well, I guess there is civilian buildup right here. This looks like similar to the area where the Wizzo was found. It's not the exact place where he was found, but it does look very similar to that. So this power station here, oh wow, this is a nuclear power plant. I didn't realize they had nuclear power plants. I thought they really didn't have much nuclear at all. I guess they do have some nuclear power plants. So that one right there, that, I mean, rebuilding something like that would take forever. It would take a decade. So what's the strategic objective? That's something that I would probably challenge you guys with to think about over the next 12 hours or so. Actually, so I'll release a video probably like almost like 16 hours from now. Diamond will be at her desk for the next 8 or probably like 15 hours studying all this, preparing. I'll be back in about 18 hours with a video. I'll be doing very important research work, AKA I'll be at the gym. Diamond would hate me if I was like, yeah, I'm doing research. Literally, I'm like posting on Instagram. I'm like, sweet gym day, buys and tries, baby. And then I'm like, oh wait, Diamond's looking at my Instagram right now. Uh-oh, busted. But we'll probably do a quick breakdown in tomorrow's video just on the actual seizure of that ship itself, the ship that just got seized off of the coast, and then also a lot of these power plants and infrastructure. We'll talk about those as well. Got to cover those. Some of the main things there. Wow, we hit an hour already. This is going. Hanging out with you guys is too much fun. It goes so fast. Great news analysis and coverage. MSM is so jealous. Yeah, MSNBC is. Yeah, I mean, I would go on their show and chat if they wanted to hear from a guy like me, just a straight up military perspective. But yeah, probably a snowball's chance in hell that they'll actually have me on. Yeah, I would not. I would not expect to see me on MSNBC anytime soon. But I would go. I would go if they invited me. I would go on CNN. Like, what is CNN afraid of? Like, are they afraid I'm going to freak out on air? Like, I'm just literally just going to tell them the facts that I know, what I've seen, just like I did on Sean Kelly's podcast. Diamond was there. We did Sean Kelly's podcast. That went great. That was a really good time. So we all really appreciated that. Things like that, just getting the truth out, trying to give you guys the best opinions and facts, I guess best facts I can possibly give. And then I also am going to insert some opinions here and there, but I'm trying to base my opinions just on pure military strategy and how the US can win this. And also other things, not just Iran, how it's extremely important that this whole veteran psychedelic bill was just passed. That's huge. That'll save thousands of veterans' lives a year. It's massive. All right. So that was from Amanda Shine Your Light. Thank you so much, Amanda. That's very kind of you. Ev Jones says, missing bigger picture. They need to find someone who will crack down on hardline IRGC. It's how we avoid boots on the ground. Yeah, I think there's hopefully in this ceasefire, I guess that's another thing. I'm hoping there's some 4D chess going on with the ceasefire itself, because there could be some inner fractures within some of those hardline IRGC bosses, maybe. But again, it's the mafia, and the mafia likes to pretend that they don't know anything. They're like, oh, I have no idea. Oh, really? No, we had no clue that there was heroin being smuggled. But they're basically just getting kickbacks or getting money. And so you just have to make those inner IRGC bosses realize that they'll get money from somewhere else if they actually, are able to come to some sort of a legit side. Potential if they're able to do that. A big if on that one. So the next super chats. XM Living. Ryan, what do you think will happen with Trump's offering to release more footage and documents with the UAP phenomenon? I think it's great. I think release as much as we can. Here's the thing I said to Jeremy Corbell. I said, I think that all of this UFO press, releasing UFO information, what it does for us is it increases everybody's innovation, because these engineers out there, you see some sort of a anti-gravity machine, like that's going to make you inspired as an engineer. It's going to make you inspired to do more, bigger and better things. So I wouldn't be surprised we see some new forms of propulsion, and then we can just take that footage. Hopefully it's footage. Hopefully it's not just words on a page, because words on a page, it's like, I always get like, I guess we could call it like UFO blue balls when I see that it's just words on a page and it's not actual footage. If it's not actual footage, it gives me UFO blue balls, because I'm like, I just want to see the footage. Show me some actual really good footage of the UFO. And I'm trying to get a reaction on a Diamond by saying UFO blue balls, but she's not giving me any reaction at all. Okay. She's like, I'm not rewarding that. Man, I thought she'd be laughing so hard. Maybe she's laughing on the inside. Diamond, blink twice if you're laughing on the inside. Oh, she's definitely real. Sometimes she does this thing where she'll shake her head no when she means yes. Diamond, are you laughing on the inside? See, she's shaking no, but it actually means yes. If she would have shaked yes, it would have meant no. Diamond, are you laughing on the inside now?
Absolutely not.
Okay, now she means no. Yeah, okay. Got it. All right. Well, now that that's cleared up, but I think Diamond, you'd probably even want to see some of the UFO footage if there was, or something substantial. I mean, we've seen footage before that looks fake. We don't know what it actually is, but there's been some good footage out there too. Like Jeremy Corbell, if you go to his Instagram, he's got some really cool stuff on what's actually going on with some of these sightings, especially in the Persian Gulf, actually. So we're talking about the Persian Gulf. But Jeremy Corbell's release on a lot of that stuff is pretty wild. Have you seen any of those videos, Diamond, or do you have any thoughts on the UFO thing? Again, I can't hear you. So go ahead, take like 30 seconds.
Yeah, I haven't seen too much, but what I have seen, I don't necessarily believe in them. There could be something out there. I'm not saying it couldn't, but from what I see, I don't think there is. I think it's just something that the rest of the world and, just American citizens and just citizens everywhere know nothing about, that maybe the government's doing a secret like sect of people or something like that. So yeah, those are just my thoughts. But
all right, well, we'll try to get some footage. If any footage is released, we'll try to do that, review that, and I'll do a reaction to that. That might be kind of fun for us all to review and look at. It could be a good time. But thanks for the question, XM Living. That's really cool. Fatty D McButterpants, you gave a few bucks to help, and you've got one of the coolest names ever. So we really appreciate that. Thank you. Keeps Diamond off the streets. IT Man says, Sarah, thanks for all you do. Love getting to see you on the video. Awesome. Sarah's developing her own little fan base. It's like a fan base. Same thing as a fan base. So yeah, Diamond is definitely the world's best moderator. I vote her for world's best moderator. So we could just kind of tell everybody out there, just pass on the word to everybody that she is the world's best moderator. That would be great. As a Saudi, oh wait, no comment, but I just 100%, but just 100, I think it's pounds super chat. Philip Schreier, what a beast. What a total beast. Thank you so much for that. It's very kind. Really, really appreciate it. And it's good having our European friends in the house. Seriously, you guys are amazing. We love people from the UK. We love people from France. We just think the leadership's off their rocker. So that's all we'll say there. Nora Burl, I might have mispronounced that, but really appreciate you. You said, as a Saudi, I just want to say how grateful we are for the U.S. troops and pray for all fallen soldiers and, God willing, ease the fallen's loved ones' loss. Wow, that is so kind. Really appreciate that. Hopefully 0 losses. I mean, hopefully the conflict doesn't have to go kinetic again. That would be ideal. Just a blockade, keep crushing Iran's source of oil. That'd be the best thing to do. That'd be the absolute best thing to do. Get their source of funding completely dried up. But again, we know that they're getting funding from, there's probably some backdoor deals with Russia and China for all we know. But again, we've seen their true colors, right? We've seen Iran's true colors, just totally willing to blow up all their neighbors, to put Shahed drones into neighborhoods. Like, seriously? I mean, just a wild, again, this is the death throes of a mafia boss, but it's a mafia boss with an actual real military. So that makes it a harder situation. Eagles, and thank you for that, though. That's really kind of you, Nora. Eagles fan Clark says, what would a new first wave look like? Chinese and Iranian air defenses in place during ceasefire. Could pickaxe and nuclear sites be next? Yeah, I mean, a first wave is likely going to look similar to what it looked like before. You got to start all over again. This is why, Diamond and I have kind of said, did the ceasefire come too soon? Or was there some other reason behind the scenes why the ceasefire needed to happen? But again, I think legitimately President Trump wants to negotiate a deal. But he's probably getting frustrated where he's like, wait, we've literally offered you free nuclear energy forever, like to use U.S. firms to help build nuclear power plants all around Iran. Free nuclear energy forever. And they're like, no. And as you can see, the reason why is because they have this strategic objective to hold the world hostage and become what they think is going to be, a mid-level superpower with an Islamic radical cleric at the helm. That's what they think their, focus is going to be. That's what they think their destiny is, and so that's a really hard one to go up against. So got to start from the beginning, start from phase 1, suppression of enemy air defenses, and kind of see where it goes from there. I mean, just a wild situation. But yeah, starting over again, not the best idea. But again, I'm going to, trying to negotiate. Maybe there's some things we didn't know that needed to be done prior to a second wave, or maybe we'll actually see an agreement. Maybe, I'm an optimist. A lot of smart people I know are like, dude, there's not going to be this is not going to go any way but force. A lot of smart people are telling me that. I'm the optimist guy who's like, but wait, let's just wait and see. And maybe, I mean, if they are a little bit less of a radical regime, maybe there will be something. But they basically agreed to 5 years of no enrichment. I think that's the same thing they agreed to with Obama. And Obama gave him $100 billion and they just started building ballistic missiles. So yeah, wild, right? Let's see. Second part of your question was the Chinese and Iranian air defenses in place. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. My assumption would be as many new air defenses as they can get. Now, they can't replenish them extremely fast because a lot of their factories are decimated. So that's actually a good thing too. Right before the ceasefire, we did see pretty much all of their ballistic missile factories, drone factories, those all got crushed. So that's good. Could pickaxe and nuclear sites be next? They always, yeah, they definitely could be next for sure. That's definitely a possibility. When it comes to those sites, we've been told, the research we've done has shown that, it comes down to Pickaxe Mountain being even deeper. They built Pickaxe Mountain deeper. The reports I've seen have said 300 feet. And we know that some of the original sites that were hit by the B-2 bombers, that was a 200 footer. So now you're looking at a 300 footer. It's just kind of wild. I got a text from Diamond. She says, I'm an optimist too, but history doesn't look so hot for them keeping their word on a deal. Yeah, exactly. We've seen them go back against their deal so many times that, again, at this point, like, I don't know. I think it's just negotiating with terrorists is never a good idea. But giving it a college try, because maybe the Trump administration is like, yeah, they're terrorists, but we're trying to bring them into the fold. Like maybe this will speak to some of these guys. But Golubov, the guy who, the finance minister, he's come across now as more radical than Agarachi, Arachi. So not Agarachi, it's Arachi. He's come across more extreme, basically touting the line of the Ayatollah. So, man, I don't know. Maybe there's some factions that are being discussed with and talked with, but I would love to know what's actually going on. We know that President Trump he's what's actually going on, and then he's got what he's letting us all in on and letting us see, which I'm very grateful for. I'm very grateful. You might disagree with him, and that's fine. We don't all have to agree, but I'm very grateful that he's actually bringing us in to a wartime president's behind the scenes, what he's thinking. So negotiating with terrorists is hard. It's never going to be easy, and actually giving it a college try and doing everything you can to try to bring them to the table, give them the off-ramp. If you saw today's video, you saw me talk about the off-ramp that in the Art of War they talk about. They talk about giving your enemy an off-ramp for the Art of War so that they can leave and save face. So they don't have to feel like they completely lost. So they feel like they're actually, they have the ability to at least save some face, maintain some sort of a power structure for defense. Because again, they want to look strong to their Gulf partners as well, right? They want to look strong to Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and they want to infiltrate those places as well. Obviously, that's their goal. So, all right. Eagles fan, we talked about that. Texas Aviator, thank you both for all your research and information. How big of a problem is the Chinese satellite imagery the IRGC is getting? Well, we talked about that in a video a couple days ago. It's actually a pretty good problem. It's a pretty good problem because when it comes to what's going on, you got to remember that they are only able to target ships for the U.S. because of the actual imagery from China. So ships, aircraft, their forces were not capable before this. Their forces were not capable of getting down to a half-meter resolution. And now they are, because those Chinese firms, for all we know, they're still piping information to them. Because China's like, yeah, we're not sending weapons, but they're probably still sending intelligence. Again, just my opinion. That hasn't been verified. X is not down for me. I don't see X as being down. Guys, go ahead and hit the like button on the chat if you would. It'll help boost the chat hit the like on the live stream itself. That'll help boost it in the algorithm. It'll get it in front of more people, and it'll help keep Diamond off the streets. It'll help keep her from being homeless, and we would all greatly appreciate that. We don't need a homeless Diamond on our hands. She can't be out there. She's a cute little blonde. We can't have her out running on the streets doing window washing, trying to pay her bills. So she needs to just be doing Max Afterburner research 24/7. That's the only thing that we're allowing. Everybody in the chat, tell her that's the only thing she's allowed to do is Max Afterburner research. Literally, we'll get her a coffee table. We'll put some drinks on it. We'll have those delivered while she's doing research. That's the only thing she's allowed to do. All right, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and pop off the stream. We've been going an hour 15. It's been a great time. Diamond, thank you for being a great moderator. And do you have any parting words, like 15, 30 seconds of parting words? Go ahead. I can't hear you.
Yeah, no, I'm going to talk about it. But no, thank you all for being here, and thank you all for being and talking with me, and your very nice comments, minus the ones that I blocked, or at least put in timeout. Yeah, so see you all probably tomorrow. So have a great day, guys.
Bye, everybody. We appreciate you. We know that we're successful because of you, and that's it. So thank you for coming back to these streams. We really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please go ahead and watch the 2 videos that released today. Those will be exciting. Those will be entertaining, and you'll learn a lot. And yeah, I think that's it. We'll probably have a poll on the next live involving a project we've got going with some energy drinks. So be on the lookout for that. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it.